Call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Trish.
Mrs. Brew?
Here.
Mr. Kramer?
Here.
Mr. Menegini?
Here.
Mr. Oja?
Here.
Mr. Pop?
Here.
We'll move on to the approval of the agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda. Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes. Move on to the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 23rd, 2019, closed session of September 23rd, 2019. Any questions? If not, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve minutes of the regular meeting of September 23rd, 2019, and the closed session of September 23rd, 2019.
Support. Either one. Either one.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
We'll move on to the approval of manifest 2019-20. Scott, did you have any questions?
I have nothing for tonight.
Brett?
I have none.
Lee?
Yeah, I got one in here. Page 5, wastewater, fourth, fifth one down. $1,000 for the sawdust. I know we need that for the wastewater treatment. That wasn't that high last year, was it? Or-
Yeah, that's pretty
That's
consistent
pretty
price.
consistent. For some reason, I'm thinking it's like $700-800.
I think it's
But
pretty
now, here
consistent.
they say regular sawdust. I think in the past it's been green sawdust.
Yeah.
And is that what it is? You don't?
I don't know on the details on
Oh.
type, so.
Okay, that's all I had.
Jeremy?
Nothing.
I have one on 107, under general fund, professional services for a property here in town. I noticed that's usually for grass cutting. Was there more to that?
Jimbo.
Yeah, that was at,
A cleanup?
yeah, cleanup.
That's what, okay, that's what I was just asking. And then, one other thing I wanted to ask was on 5 of 7, M-Power Technologies service per time tracker. And then down under wastewater, that was under the utility fund, wastewater, the, same thing for amount of $822.50. What is that exactly for?
Well, that's for that, work management system. So what I'm doing is I'm having, M-Power working with the guys on, putting together that work list. So like with wastewater, he's putting together his work lists for, for the work management.
Okay, so this ain't gonna be a monthly?
No, that's a project. that
That's
we-
just a
That we
project.
approved, yeah.
Okay, all right. I thought that was like for the program itself, we were gonna have to pay monthly.
No.
That's all I have. If there's no other questions, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve manifest 2019-20 in the amount of $492,333.27.
Support.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
One comment about that, Lee. Green sawdust is a little bit cheaper than dry sawdust. That might be why you're seeing the difference.
Oh,
The
because I
green
know in the
sawdust.
past it said green.
The green sawdust is just a wet sawdust that they have a little bit harder time getting rid of, so it's a little bit cheaper.
I see, okay.
Anyone wishing to address the council on an agenda item shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record. We'll move on to communications. Approval special events application. Leif Erickson, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you. This is an annual event, the Leif Erickson event, and we put together the event application for the Leif Erickson event. It's this weekend. We're hoping everybody can come down and enjoy our Main Street. But as part of that, it is our policy that to utilize the public right-of-ways, that they have an actual special event application. And then they also set up signs like we've done in the past, and so they're looking for relief from the sign ordinance.
Did Barb do all the mapping and everything that she gave for the request?
Trish, you've worked with Barb over the years on this. It's been pretty consistent.
Nice
You
job.
talked to her?
Yeah, yep.
Do I have any comments?
This is an excellent thing for our community. Once again, every year draws in a lot of people. Hopefully the weather holds out this week.
Well, it looks a little shaky right now,
Yeah.
but that can change real quick.
Yep.
Hopefully for the better.
I'd just like a special thanks to all the people that put this together and all their hard work to put it together to bring people into our town.
How many years?
Been over 20.
Oh, over 20, well over 20. In mid-90s it started.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion, the special events application for Leif Erikson be approved.
Support.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Move on to approval, Sturgeon Falls Rebuild Exciter Motor, Unit Number 1.
Okay, this particular item came up a few meetings ago on the manifest, and we pulled it from the manifest. What it was is we had originally approved the project for $9,113. When they got into the project, it was noticed that there was a coupling that couples up the exciter with the motor, and it needed to be replaced. It was completely worn, and we needed a new part. That part was $529. So we're looking for a change order for $529. That total will be $9,642.
Any questions? Comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that Sturgeon Falls Hydroelectric Facility Rebuild Exciter and Motor CO number 1 be approved, bringing the total value to $9,642.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menigini?
Yes.
Mr. Oshia?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Engineering service for new salt shed site planning.
Yeah, this, we've been talking about our salt shed now for, especially hard this year, specifically dealing with, through the budget process. We did budget this item. I gave you the budget sheets, which identified the different components. The budget did include the structure. It also included fencing for around the property. When we started to get into this project, it was noted that, or identified that there's a little more site plan work that needs to be done. We need to get some soil borings in that area. We know that whole area over there is compromised to some extent with its subbase, with the muck, lake bottom. And so we should have a couple of penetrations done, borings done. We also, in order to plan the actual location, it should be laid out correctly. That it involves our truck access. We don't want to have it in a way that when you're entering and exiting or working with this building, we're going to have, it's going to be open on both ends so we can work from both sides. We want to make sure that we have plenty of room. So we put this out to our 3 local engineering firms that have worked with us, GEI and UP Engineers and Coleman Engineering, and they provided a proposal. GEI had the low responsive proposal for $7,800, and so we're recommending to move forward with GEI.
Are the proposals equivalent, because they're coming in quite a bit different than the other two?
They are, and in fact, I spent quite a bit of time, and the main area involved with the surveying for the site plan and also the soil borings, to make sure that the borings and the information that we received were apples to apples, and by going back and forth and interviewing them, number of different firms on the type of borings, we were able to standardize the language. So I feel pretty confident that it's apples and apples.
Ray, you're an engineer. What's this STP boring? soil borings should be STP borings with bearing capacity? I mean, what?
Yeah, I don't know what the acronym is, but STP boring is basically structural, so that we can see what that, when they take that boring,
Okay.
yeah, we'll get a component of that.
I forgot, how much did we have budgeted for this project?
We had $100,000.
Budget, well, we're 10% over already almost.
Yeah, the estimates that we received for the structure are coming in about $60,000. So that's, well, I feel pretty comfortable with our budget based on that.
Besides the density and compaction specs, is there going to be any other state or federal regulations involved in doing this?
We'll have a building permit,
I mean, this-
yeah.
there's no, the state's not going to come and say you got to have this and got to have that for...
Special tests?
Yeah,
Shouldn't.
shouldn't, okay.
I'm sure GEI will help us, or any of the firms would help us navigate through if there were any kind of issue. And just so you know, the location is the old, like, in the same area as the old Quonset hut, the old DPW. So it's going to be used on that property.
Well, if that's as bad as the engineering place over there, they're going to...
We're going to have we have to evaluate basically the way we're using it is going to be a little bit different. So I think, it's not going to be the same type of structural component that we would need with, say, the machine shop, okay, where they couldn't afford any movement whatsoever. I mean, we're going to be able to, if it's not a complete failure from the boring test, we should be able to function just fine. In fact, because that area was already dug up and, it had a building on it, should be in pretty decent shape we're anticipating. There's no basement, so we're not dealing with any concrete. The other thing I forgot to mention is that as part of this as well, we've got to have a pavement design because, once they lay the block and we put up the structure, that we're going to use asphalt, for the base. So we're going to need to have a pavement design, for that.
Any other questions, comments? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that GEI be approved to provide engineering services for site planning on the city's new salt shed for a price not to exceed $7,800.
Support.
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Mrs. Mrs. Brew?
Yes? Move on to Sturgeon Falls Hydro Unit Number 4 Wicked Gate repairs.
Well, as I mentioned in a memo over the weekend, on Thursday, we had a failure on unit number 4. We shut the unit down, and we started our evaluation. This morning, I had an opportunity to meet with Scott Klabundy from HCMS and Stephen Denicourt from Leaderstro. They had an opportunity because they were up looking at unit number 1, that they were able to take a look. They're here. In fact, I asked them if they would also speak to not only unit number 4, but give us an update for our unit 1 commissioning. Just real quickly, it looks like initially that the failure was in the wicket gates. The gates failed. We were able to stop the unit. It was an interesting process, but we did get the unit stopped. We anticipate that there's probably some bearing issues up through the shaft, and we're hoping we still have additional testing and inspection that has to be done, so we're not quite sure to the extent of what we would have to do to get the unit back in place. One of the things we'll talk about is that at this point, Unit 1 is probably about 3 weeks or so, 4 weeks away, so I think our concentration should be on Unit number 1 to get that operating. With the level of the flow that we have right now, if Unit 1 were operating, we'd be in pretty good shape without Unit number 4. So our concentration, especially with these two, is to make sure we get that Unit number 1 commissioned and in place. And then we are going to have a serious conversation about the direction with Unit number 4. We've done gate work before, structural support work, so this is not something that is totally foreign to us, but there may be some other components that we have to address. So, Scott, I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
start.
thank you. That covered it pretty well. Just have a few pictures here.
I did provide, are those the pictures that Tim had?
These are the ones we took today.
Those are ones took,
Yeah.
probably similar to what we had.
Yeah, so what you're looking at here, thank you for the lights down. This is the runner with the plates, the buckets here, if you will. And this is a wicket gate, a failed wicket gate. Now, there are supposed to be wicket gates all the way around the outside here. You can see most of those are gone. Let's go to the next picture. This is a pile of wicket gates on the turbine floor. These are the gates. You can see the broken ones here. Go to the next picture. This is just the end of one of the wicket gates. You can see the damage here. Obviously, this is a not repairable gate like many of them, but you can see the kind of violence that went on as it was continuing to go around and hit the edge of the runner blades. Next picture. Pins. This is a pin that is a vertical mechanism that the gate hinges or pivots on. And the next picture. Okay. Here's another shot, I guess, on the other side of the turbine bay with the wicket gates laying down there. Let's just go through one more time. There's a couple more things I was going to point out. This is a little hard to see, but this here is the floor of the turbine bay right here. Okay, you can see the arch here. This is the side that the majority of the wicket gates, as they came out of the unit, and there's some pretty, again, it just represents how violent it was, the concrete. There's some pretty good pieces of concrete that are missing out of the side of the turbine bay where the gates were flung across the bay to the wall. So, next picture. It's hard to see, but these edges, these leading edges of the runner are damaged. Next picture. Yeah, and again, it's hard to see here, but on the top here, this is a sheared pin, another pin here where these gates were setting, and they sheared off and came off. So, I understand this has been a recurring issue. There are some strength issues with the case as far as how it's supported. We do have some ideas as to how to better support this, and some ways to have a little better confidence in the existing arrangement, maybe to get a little more time on it than what you had again. The one unknown yet here, I mean, we can pretty well see what's down below, but it's the gearbox. Until it gets drained and opened up to see the condition of the gears and the bearings, there could be some issues there. So we're happy to provide a proposal with some options to repair it and improve it. So that can be fixed in terms of what you'd like to see it fixed to, just because it's got some inherent issues that are, until it gets replaced, you're just going to be struggling with. So, but there are some ways to improve what you have. So, any questions on that?
Do we have any idea why the wicket gates failed?
Yeah, I mean, basically, there's a cover called the head cover on the top, and then there's a bottom cover. The bottom cover is embedded into the pedestal of the concrete. It's pretty stable. The top cover is not. It's got some supports from the turbine walls to try to support it. Those covers are what sandwich the wicket gates and the pins, if you will. And that top cover it's just not adequately supported. It's really not designed to be set or configured the way it is. And it moves and twists, and then those pins, it doesn't take a whole lot, and then they shear. And once it starts to go, there's a kind of a house of cards, if you will.
And my understanding is too, you just don't like flick a switch and it shuts off. It took them quite a while to be able to get it to.
Wind it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some things that could be done to improve the protection on it too, to be a little safer, to maybe catch it, sooner before, along with some preventative things, in terms of looking at it. Make sure.
Are you saying it's an engineering malfunction? Or not the best design?
Yeah, it's not right for the way it's configured.
on the wall with the chunks of concrete, don't you think that would have to be repaired, or is that,
No,
that should
I
be
just,
good?
I really just
That was
showed
my
that just how
question.
violent it was. You know,
Yeah.
structurally, it's sort of invades.
That's one of those areas that we can work with TCR, and, you know, and set it up in their schedule. They'll go in and
Is it
evaluate.
Yeah,
necessary? That's what I want.
I
I just
think-
showed that just to show how violent it was. I mean, but that is one of the things that should be done, is some protection, some additional protection on the machine to hopefully catch it before, you know, completely catastrophic part of this.
And they can go in and do some evaluation on it to give us an idea to answer that question, you know, because that's what they do.
Yeah, that head cover has 3 pretty good struts to the wall, and one of them was sheared off, and that's been an ongoing problem, I understand. I mean, those continue to, the welds on them.
I mean, just on this unit or units like that?
Well, this is not a typical, you know, unit in terms of how it's configured, how it's designed. The head cover it's kind of a hybrid, I'm not sure what we would call it, but, you know, they're just not set like that. The head covers are not, it's not like a floating head cover. And that's just not adequately supporting the distributor of the case. You can brace it all you want, I've seen this a number of times. But that's not really the right thing either, because there's a lot of torque, you know, a lot of movement down there, and you start to brace it to the structure itself, and that could create a whole other problem, because then you start moving the structure.
Yeah, you just transfer your stresses and issues.
Yeah, I've seen one instance where they thought they were really gonna fix it, they put some big beams down there, and it starts moving the structure of the powerhouse itself. So, you know.
A lot of force.
it's just not-
Well, we went through from top to bottom, I think, today, on a pretty good conversation, and, you know, I think there's some opportunities for evaluating the configuration of the structural, which I think will help. Some bearing questions that we have to go through, so
Yeah, there's a way to
we'll work it
support
out.
the head cover, which, again, it's never gonna be right, because it's just not, you know, configured right, but there's some ways to improve it perhaps. The location of those struts I think could be improved, the turbine guide bearing could be improved, so it could be an adjustable guide bearing to hold it tighter, so you get more runtime on it before it starts to wobble and do what it does. So,
Can you order new wicket gates, or them gotta be
No.
repaired?
good question, because you have 20 of them.
Yeah, Tim found 20 of them.
Oh, really?
It takes a set of 20, you actually have 20 new ones. I don't think these are all bad, maybe most of them, but, so, you know, pins, and the mechanical side of things, it's not that difficult to put it back in. But you really wouldn't want to do that until you made some changes. Particularly on the safety, the operator safety, in terms of, if this starts to come apart again, you know, it really is very unsafe to be in the building, and it literally can just fly apart on top, not just below. It's confined in the turbine pit, fortunately. But if things start to come apart on top, I mean, yeah, you don't want to have that kind of safety risk, people's safety
Yeah,
risk.
I think, you know, at this point, we're 3 days separated from the actual incident, so, you know, we have to finish the evaluation, inspection, and, you know, we'll keep bringing this back as we get more information and walking through, you know, like we talked about earlier today. I mean, we could just pull it and just start right over, but, you know, we're in a position where I think we have to look at everything through the whole plant and, you know, come back with a whole program, you know, because we got other areas, we have to see what is priority. I know getting Unit 4 back in line, especially for April 1st, is a, you know, big concern, but, you know, we have to look at what do we need to do and the timing of doing it, because there's some other areas that we also have to discuss.
Well, once everything else is up and running, do we use Unit 4 that much?
Well, I was looking back, I had some statistical data, and it all depends on the water flow, but, you know, we've, like, in the last couple of years.
Well, I know this year we've ran it lots, because, especially when they've been working on the other side.
With Unit 2 and Unit 1 being down, one or the other or both, you know, obviously it's running. so the runtime is longer. But if we go back to 2010, 2011, 2012, and I compare the river flow, I mean, we've seen it as low as 10% with really low water, or we've seen it as high as 60, 70%. But I would say on average, we're probably looking at 40 to 50%. There's some advantages to it based on how much water it uses with the generation that we get. I mean, we get almost a meg of generation with 500 CFS. So I mean, it's a pretty efficient machine that way. With those extended run hours means extended hours on the gearbox and all these other issues. So, we really do have to watch how we program it. If we put it back in place, there's going to be some mandatory work I think we're going to have to do to it. I mean, it's not just the getting the wicket gates in and the supports. I think we got to look at a modified support system, maybe changing the configuration based on where we know, just looking at it, where the forces are. I think maybe they're maybe not in the right location, based on what we went through, which I think is not a real challenging effort. I mean, it's an on-site thing, I mean, with somebody taking a look, but the bearings are really something, and until we know what happened up in the gearbox, it's really kind of a blank sheet right now. I just don't know. So we should have that within a week, I would think.
Yeah, I think your team is going to drain the gearbox and
Yeah.
Get the inspection covered off as well. So that's the gearbox.
That's probably the highest priority, is to find out what happened in the gearbox. I'm fairly certain that we'll probably have to work on the bearings,
Just
going through
because
it.
of the mono.
It was just so violent, I mean, you're gonna burn those bearings out, especially the lower bearing. That one, we talked about it, probably have to work on that one anyway, so.
Thank you for
Going
that.
Going back to the wicket gates, you said there's 20 of them, and some of them are damaged and some of them aren't. Would it be wise to go with all new ones, so they're all exactly the same versus, like, there wouldn't be a wear and tear on one or two of them?
No.
And create a little more turbulence?
The picture of the one was obviously not salvageable, but no, not necessarily. There's actually 20 in the warehouse here.
Yeah.
So,
I think what we were gonna do is utilize the 20 in the warehouse. They're all set, ready to go. He's not sure about the pins, so we'll have to check on that, but.
But those are small. Those are
Yeah.
big items. More concerned about, the improvements that can be made to help, give it a little more runtime and prevent this, at least be aware that it's about to happen, right? So that'd be the key, right? It's not, you're not gonna fix that, I mean, it's still gonna be wobbly to some degree at some point, but if you can detect when that starts to occur and get down there and tighten things up, then, then you're on the right track. So our focus is really on unit number 1 right now. So,
Okay.
and we're close. I think, can we?
Yep.
Give you an update on that.
Hello.
So just for the record, my name is Stephen Minipool. I'm working for this way, and I did prepare a couple of pictures, like 6, 7 of them. I'm gonna try to do not go too deep in the technical detail because it's easy to fall down and start a long discussion. But I wanted to give you an update since the last time I came here. So the unit was disassembly 2-3 months ago. The new runners were waiting in the shop since last Christmas. So we received the old one, we scrapped the old one, re-cleaned and reused the old shaft. We already discussed about those shafts. Few of them were good, few of them were in very bad shape. So we did some modification on the existing shaft. So we are changing the radius, we are affecting a little bit the design to get them inside of acceptable tolerances. So they were reassembly with the runners. They were checked, inspected, shipped to the site. They were installed in the turbine, and now we are playing a little bit with the elevation, so we are finalizing the alignment, and that's about it, where we are right now. So we believe that we need at least another 2 weeks to complete the work. So we are inside of 1 week of the schedule, and then about another 2 weeks for the commissioning. So let's say beginning of November, the unit should be back in operation and generate some power. So I did prepare a couple of points that I wanted to go through. So the first one was the shop work regarding the assembly with runner and shaft. My second one was the site at work. So I wanted to speak a little bit about the alignment because we spoke a lot about it before, and I just wanted to give you some update. Scott, we're gonna start going through the pictures, and then sometime I will stop you. So here's the power plant because it was nice today, and that's a beautiful. I did take a picture for that. These are the area that we modified on the shaft. So the shaft number 2 and the shaft number 3. The shaft number 2 was the one that we found out the cracks. So we need to remove enough material to remove the cracks so there is no more initiation of the cracks going through. It's pretty hard to see on the picture, but if you are looking in that area here, so we are not only having one taper edge here, we are also having a concave radius here. So we reduce a little bit the diameter and we remove some material inside of the coupling area. So right now there is no more cracks. There were some penetrant tests, magnetic particle tests done, and now everything is good. The only thing that we have to keep in mind is that the diameter of the shaft was reduced. We remade the calculation, and we are still really on limit, especially for the shaft number 2. In terms of today, because we worked a lot on that in the last 2 weeks, just that you have it in your mind, we spent more than 100 hours of engineering on that one because we are right on the critical spot. So there is nothing that we can forget or consider as good. We need to consider every single details. So we made a calculation for the entire unit lines. So we made a shaft line analysis, and we confirmed that the shaft number 2 never been good, and this is for sure. We went through all the design safety factor and so on, and this one is always above the limit. So there is no way that the shaft number 2 will last 40 years. Even if the alignment would have been done perfectly, there is no way that the shaft number 2 can do it. The shaft number 1 is way overkill. It can take twice more force without any problem. Shaft number 3, right on the design value. But shaft number 2, boom. So you can understand that by reducing the shaft diameter, we did not improve that. We are getting worse and worse. But there our challenge started, and this is why we went through all those hours of engineering. Because there is, and again, I don't want to go too deep, so from right to left, we brought the entire unit perfectly on, inside of 5 tab. But once we go from up to down, we need to play with the bearing elevation. So we are playing with the alignment to get our shaft number 2 inside of acceptable tolerances, which allow us previously to confirm that shaft number 2 is good for 1 year. Our calculation and targets are saying 3 years, just that you know. But these are numbers on paper. So if you look at the report, you will see like 2 years and 3/4. So we are comfortable, not to give a guarantee, but to say that 1 year should be good enough. But if you go above 1 year of operation, you start playing inside of this little margin that we kept on our side. And then if that shaft will cut or break, the damage will be huge. So we don't want to go there. So I just want to raise that point for that reason. This shaft is good for 12 months. Don't play over that limit, please. It's not meant for that. The other shaft are good. Shaft number 3 was on the limit, so we did similar modification. So we removed a little bit of material, but we reduced the constraint because we changed the radius. That helped more. So by removing material, we improved the shaft. So right now, shaft number 1 is still overkill. Shaft number 3 is inside of tolerances, and shaft number 2 is acceptable for 1 year. And this is because we played with those elevations. So right now, the alignment is not perfect as it should be, but it's somehow acceptable because we played with the bearings. So we increased the constraint in the shaft that they were overkill to reduce the one in the shaft that they were already on limits. So it's all on purpose, it's all calculated, and once the shaft number 2 will be replaced by a new one with a new design, because the design has to be redone. We cannot just use the original drawings and manufacture a new one. We need to redo the design, have a stronger shaft, and then everything can be straight as it should be normally. So here we cheat a little bit the result, but at least that you understand now the unit is good to run. We are finalizing that alignment in the next couple of days, and then we are back in operation. So that was for the alignment. It was important for me to get back to you and give you the final update because there were long discussion about it. There were huge money about it. And so now we have something good for 1 year, and next year, once we just replace that shaft, all the rest of the unit should remain good. So on the side of that, there were some discussion about machining the existing part, so the fixed part, the one that gave us some hard time also. I'm not sure if you remember, but there were those head covers and speed ring on each side of the runners. They were not having the same clocking, and also they were offset in elevation, so all the wicket gates were closing kind of like this instead of being like that. So by doing it like this, they were actually always looking. So we removed those speed rings. We re-machined all those holes to realign all of them. Now we have perfect clocking of it and also perfect elevations. So all the wicket gates are closing. I did not inspect myself all of them, but we took some spot check, and they all look very nice. Also, actually, we played with the runners, so there were shims everywhere. They were distant that did not fit. The runner was not inserted in the turbine head cover, so actually nothing was fitted correctly. So now just that you can see the stainless part on the left on the top is the new runner. On the right is the existing head cover, and we are talking about like 20,000 difference right now, so it's about 4 or 5 hair difference instead of having 3/4 inch that we were having before. So that's going to help a lot for turbulence, vibration, and efficiency of the runner. So shafts and runner were all machined based on the ASFOM reading we took on site. So now runners and shaft are perfectly made for that turbine.
This is the water passage.
Yes, we are the water going through the runner blades.
Crown
on
is
that side.
you're sticking into the water passage.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
3/4 of an inch.
It's hard to see in the picture, but now it's on the same plane.
Yeah, the most important is that area here. So if you close your hand and you just close your eyes and you just put your hand on, you can almost not feel the difference anymore. The only thing why you can see it right now is because of the cover. So it's pretty nice and smooth.
It can enter without that interruption of hitting that, causing that. Hydraulic issues.
Steve, I might be nitpicking a little bit here, but can you use different terminology instead of saying we're playing with this? Somebody might
Yes.
might take that wrong. Oh, the guys are just down there playing with our stuff.
Yeah, that's right. That's probably because of my...
They're ciphering.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that expression. Actually, we're doing our best here. So that is just a picture taken from all of that, from the turbine, so you can see the new runner, the new blades, the shaft that were check, reassembly, repaint, and also those, so these covers here are the head covers. So these are the ones that we work with to align our wicket gates and make sure that the runner fits from right to left, up and down. So right now we have clearance around the runner, so all here, all around here we have clearance inside of 1/8 of an inch, which is more inside than acceptable values. We can skip to the next one. This is just to show you the shaft number 3, which was also modified on the radius. You will probably ask why the paint is red. It's because once you machine in that kind of critical area, you cannot just apply regular paint. So this paint is clipped out blank, which is very high quality paint to make sure that we can remove the corrosion factor from our calculation. So that's why it is red. These are the wicket gates that we are adjusting. So these are fixed, these are the steering, and these underneath are the new wicket gates. So we are tightening them using what do you call a binder. Yeah. So kind of come along just to tie them, and on the other pictures you will see that the clearance are almost 0. This one is, oh, that's just the shaft sleeves. So on shaft number 2, the shaft was in the shop, we reworked it, we made the modification, and the shaft sleeves was in very bad shape, so just because it was already on the lathe machine, we just machined the surface, rebuilt with the welds, and again machined, so the sleeve is as a new one. It was on the lathe machine, so at that time, there is no question, you just do it, and that's all. So we did it. These are the wicket gates that I was talking about, so here's the first one, here's the second one, and we are working to close that gap here as much as we can. I think, Scott, we can see it a little better on the next picture. Yeah, I'm not sure if you can see, but here is the line between one wicket gate, which is here, and the other one is going there. So that clearance here is almost zero once we put the binder on with a little bit of pressure. So we are getting exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, because of the alignment issues, you have one side open and then tight on the other side.
So, here was a little bit showing, but the radial clearance are very important, but also the axial one. So right now we are also trying to reach all those clearance equal on each side, and that's all for me. It's adjustment. Generator was fully aligned, everything is inside of 5 thou, so we play with all the separated bearing, everything is perfectly flat on the good elevation, so this one, nobody should touch it for the next couple of years.
Said play again.
We played until we reached the perfect yeah, some of my colleagues will disagree when I say played, because they did not enjoy it. I did put 2 warnings here. So the first one was for the specific alignment. I wanted to mention you that we are not playing, but we are working.
Working on it.
Working on it to get all the shaft inside of acceptable tolerances. And I'm talking about the constraint in the shaft and the engineering of the shaft. And the reason why for me it was important is that the standard approach and the good approach is always to have your unit completely flat. Everything on the same level, completely straight. That's the way it should be done. Now, because we are working with existing shafts, which are not perfectly designed, we need to change those values a little bit. So we are going against the state of the art to have something acceptable for at least the next 12 months so the unit can run, having the shaft number 2 in place. But once the shaft number 2 will be replaced, you're going to be back as it should be. That was it for me.
Anybody have any other questions?
Okay, thanks for listening.
Thank you
Dave.
very much.
I have one question. How much longer will the covers be off? When do you think you'll start installing the covers back on? 2 weeks?
The
Chest, yeah. Chest
I would
covers.
say end of next week. Middle of next week.
So about 2 weeks,
Yeah,
Next week, we'll be going back.
yeah, a week and a half.
week and a half,
So
okay.
hopefully by next week it should be completed. It's a little bit tight, but we are working with tight schedule because if you don't work with tight schedule, then it just goes to extend and extend. So hopefully by end of next week, that will be our target.
I just mentioned that because if you wanted to get down, take a look, over the next week, week and a half.
How long does it take to build a new shaft, Stephen?
It could easily take about 6 to 8 months. Because these
thought
are
that's what it
portion
was.
shaft, so they are a long lead time. And just for the engineering, we need about 1 month, so it's 1 month of engineering, then 5-6 months for the raw material order, then the manufacturer, and if you have sleep on it, the result.
The only reason I'm asking is because you're guaranteeing it for 12 months, and if it takes 9 months to get another one, I mean, that's not a real big window we got.
That's why I raised the point, yeah, just to say, if we are looking to install it on next June or July, someone's gonna need to think about ordering.
A guesstimate, how much?
Sorry.
A guesstimate, how much for new
For the
shaft?
price, I would say roughly $100,000, just to have a round number
For the shaft?
for the shaft. For the shaft.
We still have to include the field work and,
And engineering?
Yeah.
No, the engineering is included.
That would be included in that?
But we are not talking about field because they're going to need to remove
so,
shaft number 2 to replace 5 the new ones, so this is not included. These are part of like field work. But only for material to have it in your storage, let's say, it's $100,000 roughly.
And roughly how much downtime to replace it when you did put it back in?
Inside of 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, I would say, for sure.
So you'd be able to go off the information now that you have on it though, because you said that shaft has to be engineered differently?
Jay, you said that again? Sorry?
You said that shaft should be engineered different, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so would you be able to go off of what you have now, so you wouldn't have to open it up and do more tests on it to see what you gotta do?
Yeah, what we did in the last 2 weeks, I would say probably half of the engineering is done, because we went much further than what we thought. So I would say that half of the engineering is done on this shaft, because normally when you order a new shaft, you need to do this shaft run analysis, all the constant value and calculate that. Now it's done. So now it's more about engineering of the shape of the shaft and make sure, because you cannot just say, let's increase the diameter, because the diameter is also going through the water passage, so if you increase that area, you're also creating restrictions. So you also need to consider all this hydraulic side of it. So sometimes you will only check for equivalence of material or something a little bit better. So without changing the dimensions, you can maybe just change the material, change the constraint area by having a bigger radius. So there are a lot of things that has still to be done. But yeah, I would say that half of the engineering had been done in the last 2 weeks.
see, one of the things we went through today was in evaluating or looking at, you know, because our question is, okay, we went through Unit 2 and we're seeing efficiencies, we're realizing efficiencies on Unit 2 that we have never had, you know, so it's been very positive. The thing is, on Unit 1, you take, you know, Unit 2 only had one component, basically, versus Unit 2, and Unit 1 has like 3. You know, you got the 3 shafts. So, you know, that all compounds itself as it goes down. So, you know, when we put a new shaft in, they're still going to have to evaluate on this number 2 shaft, 1 and 3, because that still builds back into, into
This
2.
is a part of the design which had been done actually, because initially we were looking, could we just make a perfect alignment, like everything on the perfect level? And at that point, we discovered that it's not working. So we already have all those values. So once we're going to replace the shaft 2, at that point, we're going to need to decide, are we going back to the straight alignment, or we keep shaft 1 and 3 as they are right now, which are a little bit off, acceptable but off, and shaft number 2 in this situation. And I would say, let's talk about that once the commissioning is completed. Because if when we start the commissioning, we do the test, everything is perfect, I mean about efficiency, vibration, turbulence, then there is no reason to redo the alignment level once. At that time, I would say, let's remove the shaft number 2, put the new one, good to go. But if we start the unit and we are having some issue with the production, with efficiency, we're having some turbulence, maybe we're going to have to put some limitation in that case for the next year operation. And once we'll replace the shaft number 2 on next year, then we can go back to shaft 1 and 3 on perfect elevation. And then we're going to be back as it should be original. But if there is no need, then there is no need to do it.
And I think from your original question, just to verify, I mean, you have all of the on-site data that you need at this point.
Right now, we have everything.
Yeah, you have.
So we wouldn't have to de-water it again and go back?
We have more than everything to design a new shaft, manufacture it, prepare it, disassembly sequence. And actually, we made a little modification. Actually, we did not make one of the modification on purpose. We were trying to remove as much as shims as they were in the unit, because shims are only causing problems. But if you want to be able to remove the shaft number 2 alone, without removing the other, because they are all packing one to the other, you need to have one shim in the middle segment. So we kept that one. So right now we know that by pushing a little bit the others on each side, we can remove that shim, and we're going to be able to remove the shaft number 2 without touching 1 and 3. These are really deep details, but just that you know it was made on purpose.
And I just wanted to follow up with Ray's comment about the energy or the power. I mean, on Unit 2, you're seeing 15% more power. And I would expect to see similar results, paying attention to all these little details about the tolerances and so on, makes a difference in efficiency. And you can run the numbers on that. I mean, the value is incredible with respect to, if it's true, we get 50% more on this unit as well, or more, over the years that we expect this to run. The energy is, it's a huge number.
It's going to pay itself back.
It's worth all the effort that's being spent on these little details to get it to where it's set most efficiently, so you can read the energy.
And I think, in fairness, the economics today are vastly different than they were 20, 25 years ago, where, purchasing power off the grid through wholesale power is a lot more expensive than it was, 2-3 decades ago. So, the attention to detail has to be there. It's just like any of the equipment nowadays with the efficiencies. It's just so costly to not be as efficient as possible. So those are decisions that future councils, even down the road, are going to have to evaluate when it comes to units 3 and 4, both of them. And when it makes sense financially, getting as much energy out of every cubic foot of water is going to be important. Unless they go back. I don't see them going back. With how they manage the grid.
Maybe just to conclude on that, but also those units are getting, some of them close to 10 years old, some others are around 20, 25 years old, so it's also important to understand that those units are going to need some love in the next couple of years. Even if we replace the runner or the shaft, a few of those shafts are good with calculation and values, but they operate for the last 8 years with a really bad alignment. So right now, of course, the design is good, but if you operate 8 years out of tolerances, nobody can say what is the real condition of the shaft right now, where is the fatigue on it, and so on. So this should be kind of a maintenance program, let's say every 2 years, open the turbines, make a quick inspection on the shaft in the critic area, make sure there is no little cracks coming in, so at least you can be ahead for a year or two to get the budget preparation and so on. The same for unit 3 and 4. There are bearings there are water bearings. These are getting down very quickly. So it's important every year or second year after a 10 years old unit to keep a track on and have some kind of program that someone is coming for inspection, taking the clearance measurements so you can follow that. That would be something really good to have here.
Thank you. Thanks to both of you. Anyone wishing to address the council on any item of interest shall do so now at the podium. State your name and address for the record.
My name is John Degner. I live on 719 Stevenson Street. I just want to give you a heads up on some activity that we're looking at for next year. The fair board is talking with our demo promoter, and we're probably going to run a Saturday race, demo, and music for around between Father's Day and 4th of July. So it's planning stages right now, but I'll give you a heads up that we're probably going to have some big activity out there. So.
That's great to hear, John.
Thank you, John.
Move on to mayor council comments. Scott?
The only thing I have to say is come out and enjoy the Leap Erickson show this weekend. Take a tour of the city.
I have none.
Lee?
I'll just get the same thing as Scott said, but have the girls been catching much static, Ray, on the channels that we drop? I mean, I have heard nothing. Well, I shouldn't say nothing, it's one or two.
TV Land.
TV Land? Which one is that?
26.
26.
26.
That's the,
Oh,
and I don't
the
think,
Gunsmoke and those?
I don't think it's been a lot, that's been the most popular complaint we've had. I thought Nickelodeon would be, but I think
Yeah.
TV Land has been more missed than any.
TV Land was the one I was expecting the problems with.
Yeah.
We are working with Astria Packerland, to see what channels we're going to have for replacement. We passed that along, and I think they saw the same, that TV Land was very popular with that kind of programming, so the search is on, and we're gonna have something.
Jeremy?
Nothing.
I just wanted to tell everybody, get out, enjoy Leif Erikson Day. And then back on the TV issue, I know there's been questions out there why, I don't think people understand why the rates didn't go down because we got rid of that, because the other rates are going to be going up, so that's why there wasn't a savings of that. I think we kind of explained that when we went through it, but I just wanted people to know that, because I know there are still questions out there.
And we do have an article in the newsletter to try and help explain that as well.
Okay, great. That's all I have. Mr. Anderson?
I have nothing other than I hope everybody has a safe and enjoyable weekend. Leif Erikson, I too want to thank the organizers. They do a fantastic job. It's a lot of work. I've helped out over the years, and yeah, there's a lot that goes into it, so hats off to them.
Oh, and one other comment that I did have too, I see that they're working on the electrical out there and they plan to be done for the weekend.
Yep.
So that should be nice for the people who are needing to use the electrical out by the band shell.
Well, the bridge is open.
The bridge is open. Signs are still up, but the bridge is
No,
open.
they were taking them down today.
Were they?
Yeah, they're gone.
By USA, I saw a state taking them down.
Good.
But actually, the bridge was open Friday.
Yeah. Grant?
Nothing, thank you.
Mary, Trish? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Support.
Mrs. Brew?
Yes?
Mr. Kramer?
Yes.
Mr. Menegini?
Yes.
Mr. Oja?
Yes.
Mr. Pop?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned. The students, don't forget to come